Hi guys, and welcome to today's SEMrush webinar. It's the SEO Toolbox Part 2, and today I'm going to be joined by Dawn Anderson, who I'm sure needs no introduction to you guys. She's been on SEMrush plenty of times. How are you, Dawn?
Hi Craig, hi everybody. I'm good, thank you. Around going to 2019, so Happy New Year to everybody.
Yeah, Happy New Year, everyone. So we'll obviously give the first 5 minutes just letting people come into the webinar. But just so you guys today know, we do have SEMrush experts who will be in the YouTube chat, who are there to answer questions about the tool itself. So if you've got any, queries on the tool itself and how it calculates data or how it pulls data or anything relating to SEMrush specific, you can ask those questions on YouTube. And we do have 2 members of the SEMrush team who will be answering those questions. On today's webinar, we are going to be talking about the site audit tool, and it will be similar to the last SEO Toolbox webinar, where I'll give just a brief demonstration of the tool as an overview, and then we're going to have Dawn giving her expert advice on things that Dawn comes across when auditing websites and things that Dawn feels is really important, and various other bits and bobs too. And we will also have questions and answers. So if you do have any questions you want to put to Dawn, myself, or the SEMrush team, get them all in the YouTube chat, and we will answer as many questions at the end as well. But yeah, so while people are coming in, Dawn, have you been up to much over the Christmas period, or was it a quiet one for yourself?
Yeah, we really love the Lake District in the UK, so we went there for Christmas. It was lovely, log fires, and as most people who kind of know me will know, I've got 2 Pomeranian dogs, so Bert and Ted, and we took them with us, and it was just really lovely and very English country. But then we were full of a cold afterwards, so yeah, I think a lot of people are really ill this year,
I was in the office today for the first time this year. Just last Saturday I had this vomit and sickness bug, and it nearly wiped me out for days. So yeah, I think everyone's catching a bit of everything.
Yeah, I think it's a time of year when everybody comes together and brings their bugs with them, so
yeah. But it's good old weather in parts of the world is not so good. I'm sure there's plenty of guys out there sitting in 30 and 40 degree heat watching this webinar. So yeah, we are pretty jealous if you guys are watching.
We are, indeed. Yeah.
So for anyone who doesn't know of you, Dawn, do you want to tell the guys a bit about what you do if anyone's not aware of what you do?
Yeah, sure. So I'm a SEO consultant primarily, but I also consult on overall web strategy, digital strategy. I lecture on digital strategy at the university, and I supervise master's level students that are doing their dissertation in digital marketing strategy. I'm on my 2nd year of doing that and my 3rd year of lecturing, but I'm primarily a consultant, and that's my, if you like, full-time job. Sometimes I speak at conferences. I'm not going to be doing any of that this year because I want to mostly focus on client work and my own projects as well, and keep building on skills. Yeah, so a lot of technical, so much to learn all the time.
Yeah, it's always a learning curve. I've got to take my hats off to you. You certainly always seem to be on that learning curve. That's one of the things that stands out for me, about yourself is your.
We've got it's kind of an ongoing thing. You can't stand still in digital. You can't stand still in SEO. You can't stand still in even the smallest segment of SEO, because everything is changing all the time. Every element of it becomes harder to be all things to all aspects. And I actually do enjoy the learning, as I know you do as well. So
Yeah, I like learning, studying, learning from other people. The day that I know everything, I'm sure will be the day I die.
You know, it was funny because somebody said on Twitter, the longer you're in SEO, the more you eventually think, oh God, I don't know enough. You know what I mean? So it just, why this year I just want to focus on just keep upskilling, and a lot of the stuff around structured data and a lot more coding stuff, and
Yeah, no, it's amazing when you talk to other people. You know, certain people have skills in certain areas and they just don't have a clue about other areas. And you know, I think for all of us, there's always massive weaknesses in our game. And yeah, it's good to get the head down and do it, because obviously speaking and stuff, it does take up a lot more time and
it does,
traveling and preparation and slides, which
a lot of time. But I think also one of the main areas is I think you have to decide the parts of SEO which are not really your forte. You know, I don't really do anything on the link building side. It's not that I have anything against link building. It's just that it's not my area. So I tend to sort of focus on, you tend to focus on the places you enjoy. And I enjoy, I mean, I love marketing, I love PR, etc. But I just have never really got into that other aspect of it. There's no disrespect to anybody who has. I know that there's a lot of skill required there. So
yeah, I think a lot of people do focus too much on the one thing, and I think it's good to cover as many of the bases as you possible. And I know guys out there that just shove content and bash links at it and totally ignore the technical side. And there's massive benefits just to be had from implementing the technical stuff first. So it's one of those things you could go around all day debating who's right and wrong. But we are at 7 minutes past, so I think we will press ahead and get the show on the road. So what I'll do is I'll just start sharing my screen. And whoops. And I will talk you guys through the site audit tool. I have zoomed in slightly, so hopefully you guys can see it. So obviously you go into projects, set up your project, do a site audit, and what you'll be then faced with is a dashboard that is going to look something along the likes of this. So this is just an example website, Tesco.com, that I've done an audit on, and it's just to obviously talk you through the tabs and stuff. So a site audit, first off, it's one of the things that when I'm asked to look at a website, I find it astonishing the amount of websites that I open that have glaringly obvious errors, totally missed, all these kind of things, even on websites like Tesco. Internal links are broken, duplicate stuff, everything else there. And obviously when you go into SEMrush, you've got this full interface here. One of the first things you're going to see is errors, which you can click on and it will bring up all of the errors that you've got on there. So that if you click on 46 pages with duplicate meta descriptions, it will show you the pages that have the duplicate meta descriptions. You do also have advanced filters here. So you can, filter all this kind of stuff down. You can filter by page URL. And it also, does allow you to, if I just scroll, sorry, I can do it here. You can send these errors to Trello. So for example, if you do site audits, but you're not particularly the person that does the changes on a website, you can send these to Trello and make good use of that function within the tool. A lot of people do ignore the fact that you can just send all that information straight over to Trello without too much bother at all. So that is one of the first options there, but I'm just going to go through these tabs first and foremost. So overview gives you your overview of errors, warnings, and notices. Issues is going to replicate that stuff, and it just breaks it down to errors, warning, and notices. Crawled pages, it's going to show you the pages, the site structure of your website, and it's also got the internal links. Isn't shown up there, but it's got pages, site structure, and you can also use all your kind of filters here, filter by page URL, and you can look at all that kind of stuff, and it tell you that, the kind of crawl depth on some of these URLs. It will also show you the issues on those URLs, and it will obviously show you the status code, and you can use various other options here as well: sitemap, canonicalization, markup, and various other bits and bobs. So that's a nice wee overview to have. Statistics, it's more of a kind of graphy kind of stat thing. I don't personally do too much with it, but it will show you various other statistics based around your website, which I think is a great feature to show people. Twitter cards, is in 1% of the website there, and that's something you can relay back to a customer, because when you're doing technical SEO, and justifying yourself to a customer, saying that you've got this or you've got that isn't always enough to make it sound as if you're doing a lot of work. You can actually show them these graphs and stuff like that as well, which I think sometimes helps hit home in a customer's head more than anything. So showing them these statistics is sometimes useful. You can also compare the crawls. So I've only done this crawl today prior to the webinar, but if I crawl this website just now, then I crawl it next week, and then the following week, then I can compare the data and see that I'm getting improvements, and that's something else that the progress tab will have as well. So you'll be able to kind of see the progress and improvements here. It's telling me we've got 8,339 issues. Hopefully, if I was to send that to Trello and get someone actioning some of the issues, you would hopefully see that graph go down. So it's just another nice little thing to show you kind of progress and whatnot. So that's the basics of the top tab there. But going into everything else, as I say, errors, which I looked at earlier on, which is just all your errors. The middle one is warnings. So errors are things that potentially are broken and need fixed, probably with some form of urgency. Warnings are things like low word count, temporary redirects, uncompressed stuff, and various other parts on here. And again, if you click on any of these, you will be able to see all of the images that don't have alt attributes or whatever the problem may be. And again, notices are kind of just, it's not, I mean, some of these things still need to be done, but we'll tell 38 pages are blocked from crawling, but you may be deliberately doing that for other reasons, which Dawn may talk about later on. So notices are more of a, you might want to look at this, but warnings, warnings are something that you see a hell of a lot of, and that is things that you may want to have a look at, and that could be you've not installed your SSL certificate properly, or various other things. As I say, it depends on the website. It will be a bit of mix and match, and that is the kind of the kind of those three options there. Other than that, there are thematic reports here, such as crawlability, and you just click on these and view the details. It's all very self-explanatory, and it will tell you that this particular website has 343 non-indexable pages. That's going to instantly flag up a problem in my head, going, why can these pages not be indexed? And you've obviously got this part here where it says your crawl budget is being wasted on certain things, such as temporary redirects, duplicate content, pages being blocked from crawling, various other things. And obviously what you want to do with your website's crawl budget is make sure that your crawl budget is used on pages that are there to rank. So again, SEMrush's audit tool does go in depth. It's more than telling you that you've not you've got missing meta descriptions or whatever it may be. So there is a lot more to this tool, and that's what the crawlability part does there. HTTPS, it will tell you that, you know, what your score is in terms of HTTPS implementation. We've got 95% here, and it's 5 subdomains don't support HSTS. So and it is telling you here 1,472 links on HTTPS pages leads to an HTTP page. So you want to get that looked at and make sure that it's, you know, 100%. If you can get that. So make sure that your your SSL certificate's installed properly. International SEO, again, I'm not going to touch too much on that because that's more Don's bag than mine. But, you know, you can look at that within SEMrush on the audit tool as well. And you can see here that there's, you know, 5 pages with issues, 1 page without issues, and you know, you'd have to dig deep and see what those issues are. Issues with, you know, incorrect hreflang links and various other bits and bobs. So you know, you could have mismatches, you could have everything in here, but you would have to just dig down and you'd be able to iron out your hreflang issues using the international SEO tab there. Site performance. Again, site speed is massively important. It is allegedly a ranking factor, and something that I think a lot of people are now becoming more and more obsessed with. And SEMrush do allow you to get a good look at the kind of speed of your website and stuff like that here, and you can see certain issues using this particular tab. So the score's 86%, so it's not outrageously bad, but we always want to aim for the highest score possible. And internal linking, again, there's people out there who do some great internal linking and get a massive uplift on their website. So doing that one single thing can have a massive impact on your overall rankings. So again, it's another tab that's fairly new to the SEMrush setup, but it will tell you about broken internal links and various other parts, crawl depth and various other kind of stuff on there that is really, really important. And, you know, I think people that I speak to out there just think that SEMrush just, you know, does a quick site audit and boom, you know, that's it, and it chucks out some report. It does a lot more than that. You know, it's overall it's a great go-to tool. It's one of the first tools that I run things through, and you know, it will flag up errors, and it's not because it's SEMrush that I go to it for anyone who thinks because I'm in a webinar I'm going to say that. Certainly not. I think the tool is very aggressive and very in-depth, and it is one of the better ones out there that flags up stuff. So it's one of the first things I do is run you know, an audit. Obviously, I will use various other tools out with that, you know, digging deeper into certain other things. But I think as an all-in-one tool, this just allows you to overview something, pass it on to one of your team, whether that's through Trello or you know, exporting the PDF, which you can do up here. So, you know, you can pull all this data over and give it to a customer as well. So if, for example, you're faced with a customer who says to you that, you know, they feel that their website may have problems, and, you know, you pull this website up, for example, and you feel that there's a lot of things that can be done here to help improve that customer's performance, then when you say it's going to cost you, you know, whatever figure you want to charge, what you want to do is potentially pull that PDF to show them there is actually problems and stuff like that there. So, you know, that is a kind of generic overview of the tool. Obviously, I don't want, you know, there's millions of live site audits that I've not done millions myself, but, you know, SEMrush had a full series of live site audits. And if you want to understand what all of these different things mean, then, you know, you can go and look at one of the previous SEMrush webinars where people do discuss that. But what we are going to do next is get Don Anderson on here, and what Don's going to do is talk us through some of the stuff that Don feels are the kind of more essential changes to make, or the most common mistakes that you can start to implement. Doing technical, because Don's doing technical all the time. So Don, I will close up now and let people understand someone with a nice English accent now, and I'll let you take over.
Thanks for that, Craig. That was really, really useful. I'm going to just put my screen on and I'm going to share it. And I'm just going to talk about a few of the things that I come across, because obviously there are many, many things, so many different tools out there now, and so many different things that we could be spending a lot of our time on. And for me, not all issues are equal at all. And if we're not careful, I mean, it's so wonderful that there are all these different things that are flagged up in the site audit tool. But even though we have them categorized in errors, warnings, and notices, well, the famous saying in SEO, it depends, because it depends on the site, it depends on the current priorities of the organization that you're working with, it depends on legacy, how difficult are things to implement. If you're working on a small WordPress site, and it's got 10 pages, and it says, meta descriptions are all duplicate, well, that's easy to fix. But the problem is, it's not easy to fix if you're dealing with a million page dynamically driven site working off templates, because the template, it's going to need some programmatic implementation. That means dealing with the devs. And quite frankly, if you turn around to them and said, oh, we need you to do all unique meta descriptions, they'd probably laugh at you. So it's those kind of things. Actually, whilst the tools are all great, they are just a great starting point. It takes the heavy lifting out. You still need to use a lot of individual insight. So I ran an example on a project here. Hopefully I'm going to share the screen now. One sec, screen share. Hold on. So here we go. Be able to. Hold on. Is that sharing?
Nah, I can't see anything my end.
Hold on a sec. Sorry, things are just hung a bit. Literally.
Take your time.
The screen's just hanging. I'm really sorry about this.
No worries.
Okay, sorry. It's just the screen is just not allowing me to share. So, for now, let me talk you through some of the processes that I use whilst I'm waiting for that to just do what it's supposed to do. Is that okay? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. In actual fact, the screen I'm looking at of you now has frozen as well. So I'm just going to have to, for now, until I can get this to do what it's supposed to do, because it's literally not responding, just talk a little bit about the things that I come across and things that actually matter. Yeah? Is that okay? Yeah.
Sounds perfect to me.
Okay, so this is off the top of my head. Okay, so a lot of the things that I see that come out on the site audit tool is the things that really matter to me are obviously canonicals. If I see that a lot of pages are coming back with either multiple canonicals implemented, which it's likely obviously that there's only going to be one of those taken notice of. I see that quite a bit. And often that one of them is added by WordPress, for instance. That is a programmatic issue that you need to fix. I also see quite a lot of, obviously, canonicals where I have to dig in and have a look at it, and I see, for instance, that people have tried to canonicalize a series of page 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or whatever, a paginated series back to the first page in the series. So I see that quite a lot. These are the areas where I've found that if you fix them, it can be quite impactful pretty much immediately, or very soon if you can get a good crawl after that. So obviously that's not correct, because you should canonicalize only to yourself, i.e. the same page. Those are the kind of things that this crawl tool, the site audit tool, picks up on. Have a look in there. And with that, for instance, I check to see if there is a view all in place. I check in the actual web pages themselves once that's flagged, and I see, for instance, whether there's a rel equals next and rel equals prev relationship in the head of the page and links on the page, although the links shouldn't have the rel equals next and the rel equals prev. It's in the head of the page. That's one I see quite a lot of as well. So one actually that comes up, as only a notice, is one that says only one internal link. Now, to me, that's not a big deal if you've got a small website. If you've got a massive website and you have a lot of pages that maybe you could be achieving really low, a long-tailed traffic at scale, then that is where I would look into it much further. Also, I see people push a page out with a new post, and obviously it starts to get traffic, and then eventually it starts to get buried in the blog as new content gets added. So when I look at, this page has only got one internal link, and I see that in the warning section or the notices section, I am quite drawn to that, because I know that even if you don't fix a lot of the errors, sometimes by focusing in and having a look at the pages to which you're not getting the internal link glove via contextual internal links in a natural way, these are areas where you can actually have really good wins, because sometimes it only takes a little bit of a good internal linking for you to leapfrog over some other sites, particularly on some of the more longer-tailed queries, which often you'll be starting from if you're a fairly new website. I'm seeing one that actually is a top issue, and I totally agree with that. SEMrush on this. 34 issues with mixed content. Mixed content is, for me, one of the biggest wins you can possibly have. Obviously, we've got the not secure issue, and anybody who's not clear on what mixed content is, it's where the HTTP and the HTTPS pages are, the page is returning a HTTP, not secure, but it's trying to be a HTTPS. So there is a security certificate in place. But for instance, you are returning, are you returning content on the page that's included with it, such as JavaScript or images that are not secure. So you're embedding or calling a HTTP image or a HTTP ad or a HTTP JavaScript file. Something's included anyway that actually is not on HTTPS. So to be truly HTTPS, you have to have all of the assets that are returned with the URL as HTTPS. Otherwise, it's considered mixed content. So that actually is something that I would consider a top issue. It always makes a difference when you fix that, for me, as far as I'm concerned, because you get rid of issues with the canonical being selected as HTTPS, and then the HTTP version gets popping up in search. You're consolidating all your signals, and obviously you are not getting any not secure errors, and you're just focusing all the signals on the one pure and correct URL. I often see as well internal links to HTTP pages versus HTTPS. Again, that for me is a massive area where, again, big wins to be had there. Often I see that these issues are in XML sitemaps. People push they switch to HTTPS protocol, but they forget to update their XML sitemap, and all the links on the XML sitemap are still on HTTP, or they forget to update all the internal links, or they forget to update all the images or something. Often these are things that you could potentially fix with some plugins if it's WordPress. Bear in mind though, you should always do a crawl before and after, because a lot of the plugins they don't catch everything when it comes to updating all the assets from HTTP to HTTPS and all the internal links. So as with anything, all tools are great. A lot of tools are great, but they're not all perfect. So humanize, multiple crawls, double checking everything, use a checklist, things like HTTPS switches, protocol switches, and so forth. And always just use, I use Trello boards as well. I was going to show you that before my computer just decided to hang completely. I have an example website audit output, which I'll actually add a link at some point to. I'll share it on with SEMrush so that people can use it to populate the different areas with their SEO site audits from their site audit tool as well, along with some instructions. But basically, I use an agile approach because obviously not everything will necessarily have the same level of priority as SEMrush puts on these things by the tool, because always it depends. So what I do is I'll take the list from the errors and push it to Trello. I'll build 3 lists on Trello beforehand that says errors, warnings, and notices, and I can automatically just connect SEMrush and literally push the list or all the items across to the Trello board. Then after that, I go through with the client or the client's developers, and we organize something like an appearing discussion where we go through the list, look at it, see which are the most important, which are the easy jobs to implement. And we take this agile approach of must have. Often it's things like the HTTPS, sometimes it's speed actually. A lot of the things that do flag up on SEMrush, and obviously rightly so, are to do with speed. Speed is a massive issue. But if I then run the client's website through page speed insights, and it's coming up at 80% and the rest of the competitors are like 60 odd, then I'll say, well, this is a reasonably good website, yeah, and I'm not going to prioritize fixing speed on 3 pages when the vast majority of the whole site. And also, it depends. I look at individual pages themselves. What's the impact? What's the impact to the user? What's the impact to the revenue? Where is the priority? Then I sit with them and we have like an appearing, and I go through the list and we look at what can be fixed, what do they have the resources to fix, where is the priority, and we put labels on them from Trello. So obviously with different colors on. So color coding is a really great thing. And then after we obviously schedule, if you like, almost sprints to get these things done. I'm in contact with developers throughout that time. We obviously utilize things like Slack as well to keep in touch. And after that, what we do is we then run another crawl. And I would say audits are not something that you should ever set and run once. I don't. Periodically, you have a scheduler in the site audit tool, and I set it to run like once a month automatically, so we can check progress. One thing that I do often see happens is that because a lot of dependencies, particularly on bigger websites, you fix one thing and you spring a leak somewhere else. It's a bit like the older the house, the more you have to like make sure that everything is kind of one thing doesn't trigger something else. And also, we're all humans. So sometimes developers can do a rollback by accident to a previous code, or they can, I had one issue where a new client came to me. It was a massive client, household name. Pretty much everybody in the UK would know who they were. They came to me, they said, oh, we're not getting any traffic at all to our website. I was like, yeah, because you've got the robots you blocked the robots.txt, you've blocked your homepage with robots. So they pushed the whole website live. The homepage was blocked. Every other page was all right, but obviously the authority of the homepage was the most powerful one. As soon as that was unblocked, immediate spring up. So things like redirections, broken links. I'm not saying fixing every broken link. In fact, actually, you probably shouldn't fix every broken link in your website because, well, you definitely shouldn't. And the older the site, the more this is important. Because the web does have broken links. If you don't sell something anymore, if something is not available, if you haven't got the content there anymore, you should return either a 404 or 410 and or 301 redirect to an appropriate place. And the point is, it has to be an appropriate place. So the site audit tool is great for us getting a list, working through it, and you have to go through each URL individually. But as Craig just showed as well, sometimes you can filter on sections. So which sections actually matter to the business. So you can filter the URL by section, have a look at that, and see where the priority lays. Yeah. So I mean, there's loads and loads of things that you can do with the tool. I found that the most success has been around things like internal linking, fixing mixed content, obviously checking crawlability. If you have, I double check it all with things like Google Search Console, which is obviously amongst my favorite technical SEO tools. I never use just one tool. I use a range of them to get almost like a middle figure, if you like, on speed, on errors. There's nothing more embarrassing than going to a client with something that's a false positive, particularly if they're a new client or if you're doing a proposal and you say, hey, such and such a thing is broken, and they go, no, it's not. How embarrassing is that? Yeah. And also, if you go to developers with things like that as well, you'll just show yourself up and you'll lose credibility. They won't believe a word you say in the future. And if you haven't got developers on board with technical SEO and technical audits, then you are up against quite a challenge. So I hope that's been useful. I mean, what do you have other things to add, Craig, or do you want me to carry on? Or I'm sorry, the computer screen just hung completely.
No, that was fine. You gave a lot of useful tips there. I think there's people starting to populate questions and answers and stuff.
Yeah, there's questions here. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. If I can get a new tab to open, one sec. I mean, could you ask me some of the questions, Craig?
Yeah.
We have to we have to work with the fact that my computer's hung and I can't restart my computer. So let's just go. Yeah, let me see if I can answer them off the top of my head. Yeah.
So the first question we've got is from a Nicholas Gantenberg. He's asking, what is a realistic range of score for a site audit? Is 90 good enough and 50 being horrible, or can you actually achieve 100%?
I have seen people who've achieved 100%. Personally, I would not strive to achieve 100%. If you had it's all about, is the effort, is it worth it? Yeah. So if you're at 98% and you have something that's actually quite a complex fix, but isn't actually an issue that's having an overall impact on the business, yeah, so there's not a business case for it. So for instance, one of the questions that I did see earlier was uncompressed JavaScript. Yeah. So the tool obviously picks up on every JavaScript script that gets pulled in. Sometimes those are third party. Yeah. You're not necessarily going to be able to compress the JavaScript or third-party scripts being pulled in without contacting the third party. You know, if you have a fast site anyway, you could have that you've got 95%, but it's these things are keeping you back. I would say, so what? You know, I would rather go off and focus on other things, and that is why taking this agile approach is really important. And it depends, because actually you can have one issue that takes your score down by 40%. Yeah. It can be fixed with one dev thing. Yeah. And actually, it could be that it's on the pipeline, it's going to be fixed in 3 months. There's nothing you can do about it between now and the 3 months. You have to just keep chipping away at the things. So I think with anything, numbers are funny things. You know, it's like page speed. You know when things are bad. Yeah. You know when you look at a range of tools and you take a median approach to everything, that actually this is you look at analytics as well, and you integrate it with SEMrush, and you say, oh, this is a really bad speed for important pages. Yeah. So it's about identifying, does it matter? Is it a high priority? I mean, it'd be amazing to be perfect in all things, but unfortunately that's not necessarily going to be achievable, yeah, all of the time. And it's whether it's worth it and whether there's other things to be focusing on. But if you see that there are some pages that are being picked up on, for instance, that are slow, you go to analytics, you see that they're like your checkout, your shopping cart, your payment page, your major priority categories and subcategories, then you're going to obviously give them, you put them in the must-have bin in the Trello board, yeah. So it's about that. It's about building like this list of priorities and then moving things up. And the agile approach says we work with the most important things first, and then we keep working our way down the list based on the time that we have. If we have the time, we drop something off that's not important. So I hope that answers that question. I'm sorry that it's an it depends question. It depends answer, but so many SEO, every industry will have it depends answers. Yeah, I would say if you've got 30%, then you probably, I would call that slow and bad on SEMrush.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think you're perfectly right when you say, you know, it depends, but you know, tackle things in order of priority. Like, do you tag the images before you're going to fix, you know, a whole heap of other changes that you know are going to make a difference, you know, but you might run out of time, budget, whatever it may be. But that's perfect. The next question we have is from Elisa O'Mara, and it's a question for you, Don. How deep do you go with a site audit when speaking to a prospect? How much detail do you give prior to signing up that client?
Okay, so again, it depends. If it's a massive website, then I will take a slice of a key area and I will say, look, this is the top level, top level micro audit. Let me just, you know, to identify a few of the issues. If it's a small site, I'll just go through the whole website with one crawl, have a look, do some insight. But obviously, I never just use a site audit tool. I never use just one tool. I use a lot of tools, yeah. So I'll take various bits from top level on each and, you know, synthesize it into where I think some of the key issues are, put it obviously into a proposal, and then arrange a call just to talk through some of the key areas I've spotted. Obviously, it's a proposal, so I'm not going to give them a full free audit usually, or ever for that. I'm going to do a top level and look at some of the low-hanging fruit. And then, you know, if it's a big site, then I will just take a small slice, maybe a couple of thousand pages. You know, some sites are so big they don't even know how big their internal crawl spaces are. So it depends, yeah. And yeah, so again, sorry, it depends.
That was still a good in-depth answer though, in terms of how you give them different various bits of detail, so that you're not essentially handing them all on a plate. So
I do see one of the questions on the hung screen from Andy Simpson, which is one of the main areas in the audit tool you go to when we want to go for a quick scan of the site. Well, I just on that, what do you think, Craig? To be honest, I just go to the dashboards and then I look at the mega menu on the issues, and if I just have a quick look, I mean, you have to dig in, but I look for any showstoppers initially. And then, like I say, once a month, really, I just look through pretty much. I have things that I consider major priorities, but you get to know them depending on each site. Every site is different, as we know. And as you get to know the site, you start to know the areas where things are not as problematic as they might be on another site, based on the configuration or the ability of the dev setup, etc. And sometimes you can counteract some issues that you find on sites by doing other things to strengthen up other signals. I think it would be difficult to find a perfect website online, apart from maybe a brand new build. Perfect, once you start adding people to it. But anyway, I would say dashboard. I set up the emails so that I get the automatic email once a month that tells me that the audit's run, the things that are flagged, and I get the email that says, hey, you did a better job, hey, you did a great job, hey, you've got issues. I've set up some alerts so that if certain things happen, it triggers and I get the email. So I find those really useful as well. And the other question was, by the way, did you have anything to add on that about the quick look at scan of the site, Craig?
No, I mean, I'm pretty much similar to you, and I also do get the something's changed or whatever, or your stuff like that. So I think the process you've got is very similar to mine, and I've got things that, as you say, certain things with certain websites are pain points on those websites, whether it's a bad build or whatever it may be, and some of these things are way out your control anyway, but you've just got to deal with them. But I think just doing it, as you say, on a regular basis is really important. I mean, I've had things where SEMrush themselves have implemented something, and my audit score was 95 and it's all of a sudden down to 88 because SEMrush have now added this new feature, and even doing that, from that point of view, you get notified that there's something different.
Exactly. Do you know the one thing I will really stress, and I see so many people say, hey, we do an audit, we want an audit. For me, the audit is just the start of progress. You'll probably never get everything done off that first audit to start with. I think the people that win out the most, or the sites, the brands that win out the most in SEO, are those that keep revisiting. They take this cyclical approach: plan, do, review, plan, do, review, plan, do, review. They run the audit the next month. They track progress. Where are we? What's happened? What can we fix next? Blah blah. And they keep working through, collaborating together, realizing that sometimes things will go a bit off-piste back together. Let's have a revisit. What's outstanding? That kind of thing. If you think running one audit will fix your website and make it fly forever, well, you'll be kidding yourself. So it's an ongoing project, small revisits. Especially on sites that are actively developed, because it's just very easy to add some new feature. You break loads of other things. You add more JavaScript, you slow the site down. You know, you add a load of new images, not compressed. You know, you slow the site down. Google implements something, all of a sudden that's classed as a technical SEO issue. You know, yeah, so never think you can do these things once. You have to keep chipping away, chipping away. Eventually you'll get maybe down to the bottom of that list of good nice to haves off the agile list. And that's the point, really.
Cool. Right, we've still got time for questions, guys, so you can get other questions in. We do have more questions for you here. Perry Luckett is asking, hopefully I said that properly, if crawlability and site performance are in the mid-90%, HTTPS is 99% and internal linking is, say, at 95%. Should I worry about things like duplicate meta descriptions?
No, well, it depends. Sorry, because if all of your meta descriptions are exactly the same word for word, yeah, think about your users. Think about the fact that Google often do rewrite meta descriptions. So I wouldn't obsess on it. A, it depends on the page. B, it depends on the click-through rate that you're getting from search. Is there an area where you can improve on it? Are they dynamically generated? If they're dynamically generated, you probably can't do a huge amount to make them massively unique and also get a good call to action. There's millions of dynamically populated sites out there, and I'm not talking about sites with massive boilerplate. I'm talking about every e-commerce site pretty much is dynamically populated because it's programmatically driven. So I wouldn't obsess, no, I wouldn't, but I would look and take a look at it and think, well, you know, it's not worth spending a lot of time on that. Does the meta description meet the need of the user depending on the query? The page title the same, i.e., I'm not saying they should be the same, I'm saying are the page titles cannibalizing each other, or are they do they actually meet informational need? So look at site audit tool, look at Google Search Console, look at the two together. If you find that it's not actually an issue and you're getting a good click-through rate and the pages are a good description, i.e. the meta description is a good sign out on the street, if you consider that the search results are the street and your page is the front door or the shop window and you're trying to lure people in, even if it's the same pretty much or similar, very similar, I would fix it if it's exactly the same, yeah, because if you look in search results, it's very rare you'll see exactly the same snippets in the results. So I think you might end up getting picked, or different pages often picked through query diversity. So it doesn't impact rankings, obviously, meta description, but I think sometimes it impacts, you know, what actually will get pulled out of the page. Sometimes Google will just pick out what they like anyway. So yeah, that's my answer to that.
Cool. Just for my wee bit to add to that, I agree with, you know, pretty much everything you said on, and obviously if they're dynamically, you know, if they're all done by in an e-commerce website and you can't do much about it, fair play. But if you do have the ability to change them, and it can help improve your click-through rate, it is something worth considering to some degree, because in my experience, click-through rate can be the deciding difference between getting that position 1 and 2. It's not backlinks, it's not site speed. Getting that click-through rate could be the deciding factor, but again, it depends on the site, what page it is, all that kind of stuff. But if it's a high-ticket money term and you're struggling to get into the top position, it's something at that point, you know, I would potentially consider dealing with for something like that. So don't discount it completely anyway.
No, definitely not. It's again all about the prioritization. Yeah, definitely. You have to look at it in combination with click-through rates.
Yeah,
100%.
So we have a question from Carlos McKenna, I know Carlos actually. What other tools do you recommend to use alongside SEMrush? I'm assuming that's for site audits. Yeah, that's all that Anton's put in there for us to thingy. But we'll say it's kind of site audit tools.
So I use loads of different tools, loads. I use obviously Google Search Console. I use Google Analytics, even though you wouldn't necessarily call it a technical SEO tool. It is, because for me, it helps with the prioritization of the task when I can see impact, etc. I use obviously things like Deep Crawl. I use Systrix. I use URL profiler. Typebulb. I use things like webcoms header check to double check things like response codes. I use Web 24/7, which has a great suite of pinging tools, IP checking, or website IP checking rather. I use things like Minify CSS to help with minification, Pretty CSS to expand out CSS that's been minified or compressed on the server. What else? I use Smushit tools to compress images. I use Cloudflare sometimes. I use, oh God, the list could go on, to be fair. Screaming Frog, obviously. Loads of different tools, yeah. There's so many tools out there. It's
yeah, you could bankrupt yourself on the
and all the speed ones as well. Structured data testing tool, depends on the focus of the problem. And what the main tools throw up. Then you start to dig in, because when you're doing a proper audit, you have to return solutions or these good recommendations based on very deep digging. Yeah.
Perfect. So got a couple of minutes left, so we'll try and squeeze another question or two. Alyssa O'Mara again is saying, I've seen pages canonicalized to themselves. Is that okay, or should we remove the canonicalization?
No, it's fine. It's fine if actually the page that they're canonicalizing to is the actual page that you want to be the canonical, i.e. So I see this a bit, and I've had it actually on some projects that I've worked on, and it's quite problematic. So if you have a dynamic driven site and you programmatically have it so that actually it canonicalizes to itself, and then you actually find the pages that you didn't want indexed yet, you didn't want in the index, but then you start canonicalizing. See, you have to check everything. Generally speaking, on a WordPress site, canonicalizing to yourself is fine, but you must always check that actually that you do want that page to be the canonical overall from a cluster. Yeah. So if you have sites that are similar, it's always good practice to go through and do spot checking. Yeah. Because you could end up having it so that actually a project will return a dynamic page that renders to whatever different parameters, and then it says it's the canonical. So it depends, yeah. But it's perfectly fine to do it, but I would still always check every canonical, to be fair. Because you're saying to Google, this is the one out of the cluster. Yeah.
Perfect, Don. And one last question is from Valerie Marbach. What about markup? Most of my customers are local, and SEMrush always shows a low percentage of pages marked up. What do you recommend for markup?
Okay, so you talked about schema and that schema markup, structured data. Yeah. I can't move screens, so you'll have to bear with me. I'm hoping that it's the schema markup pages that I've seen, because I can't click through and look on the different dashboards. There's quite a few things that you can do also with, even though you have like local, a lot of the businesses that you're working with are local, small SMEs, etc. So, for instance, you could maybe start to look at utilizing some of the schema around services, products, go into data highlighter, for instance. So, I'm not saying it's not a bad thing to have markup, have low markup if you have a small site, because you're pretty much going to have a low amount of most things because it's a small site. But you can, I would again look at it in combination with things like Google My Business, which is a great layer for data extraction, which you can use to sort of feed in things like products, services, posts, etc. You can mark up organization, you can mark up people, you can mark up videos, you can mark up reviews. I'm talking about in your web pages. There are some WordPress plugins out there as well that are you can utilize for schema. You can use the data highlighter for things like events if you do an event page which focuses on your industry's events, or you can use highlighter for things like organization as well, or local within Google Search Console. If you connect Search Console with SEMrush, I'm not sure yet that they actually pull in highlighter stuff, but actually at least you'll have you'll know that you actually have added some markup, because what you will find is that that markup that you add via data highlighter is probably not going to be visible in the page source code in the same way. It's because it's rendered separately. So there is loads of things that you can do if you're getting flags that you have a low amount of markup to improve your local strategy or your small business strategy. It's just a case of having to think about these things. I wouldn't worry too much if you're a small business about that flag in particular. Obviously, I know I'm making structured data and schema, etc., a big focus for a lot of my clients this year, because for me, everything is moving more in the direction of entity-driven search. People want to find more and more things rather than words. Words are important, of course, but task-driven search is for me around doing things, helping people, and a lot of that is linked to entities. So yeah, I hope that answers that.
Perfect, Dawn. That is a great answer. So that is, sadly, we're out of time. But thank you, Dawn, for being on today. Thank you to the SEMrush guys who have been answering the questions in the chat. And thank you all you guys for watching. There is obviously up and coming webinars which you'll be able to see on the SEMrush website. But thank you for watching today, and see you again soon. Cheers.
Thanks all. Thank you. Thanks. Bye. Bye-bye.